Have you ever noticed how quickly you can go from being totally fine to suddenly becoming completely overwhelmed? 1 minute you're answering emails, making dinner, juggling hundreds of tabs in your brain, and then all of a sudden, all it takes is one text, one email that you need to send, and suddenly everything feels like just too much. But what if overwhelm isn't actually the beginning of the story? Welcome back to the 3-Minute Pause podcast. My name is Vanessa, and today that's what we're talking about. How overwhelm literally takes over your entire day. The thing about being overwhelmed is that it's so symptomatic, it is impossible, not almost, it is impossible not to get caught up in the symptoms. Meaning that when the emotions come, when the symptoms of overwhelm come, they are literally overpowering, and it feels like you're getting caught up in a flood of different emotions and different sensations, so you can't stop it. And so it feels like, okay, I'm here, I'm right in the middle of overwhelm, and I can't see anything before and I can't see anything after. And that's why it's so disempowering and discombobulating. Because when you're overwhelmed, you're in the middle of that moment, and it's only that moment that you can focus on. Your breath is shallow. Your brain is running at 1,000,000 miles a minute. Or you've gone into complete overdrive and you're so numb, you've literally switched off and your brain has just gone absolutely quiet. But that in and of itself is also stressful and anxiety ridden, because when your brain is completely quiet, then it's like, uh-oh, what's wrong with me? What's happened to me? And the inner critical friend shows up and starts saying things like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you handle this situation? Why can't you handle and multitask with so many different things happening in your life at the same time? Other people can. They manage just fine. Why can't you? And then you go into overdrive. Question yourself, wondering how you turned out to be less than. And all those insecurities start creeping in, and you spiral further and further. And what began as an overwhelming, perhaps, moment in your environment has now spiraled into this massive emotional overwhelm as well. And the speed at which you get overwhelmed is directly related to the speed of how fast you suppress your emotions. That feels like a really discombobulating and stressful statement I just made, but really there is a sense to it. The thing is the reason we're getting overwhelmed all the time is because we're getting so many different emotions and stimuli all the way through our days. And that's normal. That's we're humans. We live our lives. We've got so many different things coming at us all the time. Whether that's in your work environment, then you've got your home environment, then you've got your travel environment, you've got your children, your partners, your relationships, your parents, and all of our stress is also triggers. When we're stressed, we're triggered. When we're upset, we're triggered. When we're worried, we're triggered. When we're anxious, we're triggered. All of these things make us triggered. And it gets overwhelming just to feel all those things at the same time. And so the easiest and quickest mechanism is to shut it down. So what we do is we take that emotion and it comes through the system, and suddenly the system goes, oh my God, that feels really big, or that feels too big to handle right now. I've got so many other fires that I need to put out, like my work, like my deadlines, like my kids crying and having a meltdown at the moment, or any other fires that are going on, a sick family member. I can't deal with this. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to shut it down, and I'm going to quickly put it away. And when I suppress it and put it away, okay, that feeling is gone. You could just be sitting at your desk working on a project, and the pressure of that deadline is a trigger. The emotion comes, the worry, the anxiety about meeting the deadline. Will you meet it? The consequences of not meeting it, the consequences with your boss and your team, etc., etc. And all those feelings that are there, and you think, oh God, I can't deal with this right now. I need to focus on the deadline. Suppress, put the emotion away, carry on. Now, as you're working on it, suddenly you get a phone call from a partner. Hey, so-and-so's in the hospital, this family member. Oh gosh, this is another flood of emotions. Okay, can't deal with it, suppress, put it away. Then your colleague walks into your office and says, hey, let's go for a cup of coffee. And you think, oh God, I just don't have time, pressure. Oh, another one. Okay, let's feel that. Okay, let's put it away. All right, I've just described literally 1 minute of your day, and I'm overwhelmed with the amount of emotion just saying it, let alone I can imagine what you're feeling as you live it. And so all those emotions you're suppressing, that was 1 minute, right? Extrapolate that to like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, a whole day. And then maybe more than one day, because chances are, if that's the mechanism of how fast you're putting those emotions away, they don't just span one day, they span many days. Because the feelings that keep coming in over and over, especially if it's an ongoing situation, like someone who's not feeling well, like a sick family member, or worried about how your child is performing at school, or a deadline that is several weeks away. You know, the stimulus and the information that's coming from these pieces is ongoing. It's not just one single event. It's one event with many different variables and many different competing pieces that require your attention and your emotional attention, not just your psychological and cognitive attention, your emotional attention, because each one is bringing up feelings. So the speed at which you suppress those emotions, and I understand that it's out of necessity so you can function, I'm not saying that it isn't, but the speed at which you suppress those emotions is then directly related to how fast you get overwhelmed. Because how quickly you can do that and the sheer volume means that when the overwhelm comes, it hits you like a 10-ton truck. And that is brutal. You've been moving along just fine, and wham! It feels like you've been hit by a 10-ton truck that is full of emotion, full of anxiety, full of worry, full of so many different competing emotions that your system goes, wait a minute, I've got 20 different emotions that I'm feeling here, all vying for attention at the same time. This is no longer multitasking. This is me being split in 20 different directions. And the idea that I've got to look at all of this and navigate myself into 20 different directions, it's overwhelming. So your system shuts down. Because the flood of all of that is, oh my God, I can't do this. 20 different directions. What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? And if you grew up in a household where you had to split yourself like that to people please the people around you, well, then that's a trigger in and of itself. So that adds another layer of overwhelm. So your system shuts down. So why do we get overwhelmed so easily? It's because we're feeling a whole bunch of emotions. We've got a flood of different emotions from so many different sources. And all of those sources require our cognitive attention, they require our emotional attention, and sometimes they require a time attention, which means they need to be dealt with right away. And then they have a historic trigger. Yeah, doesn't sound like fun, does it? It feels like a recipe for disaster. And oftentimes that's what happens. It feels and becomes disastrous because then you become completely overwhelmed. So what do? Well, the key is to feel your emotions. I know I've been saying this a lot, but the key is to feel your emotions. And I know in that moment it feels impossible. And it is, by the way. I'm not suggesting that you should feel your emotions when you're at the point, at the peak where you're completely overwhelmed. No, that's the worst time to feel your emotions because you are now overwhelmed, flooded, there's too much information. It's not even possible to sift through what pieces of information you start with, which ones are time sensitive. It's impossible. Absolutely not. When you hit the point of overwhelm, that is not the time to feel your emotions. The time to feel your emotions is before you get to the overwhelm. So the key thing here is to see the overwhelm as a signal. If you've hit that point, what we want to do is create a situation where your brain eventually can say to you, hey, if I've hit this point and I'm at overwhelm, I need to stop. I need to stop right here and just come back to my body. That's the first thing you gotta do. Come back to your body. The pause this week is, number one, when you get to that point where you are overwhelmed, come back to your body. Sing, dance, wiggle your hips, wiggle your bum, tap, whatever it is that it takes, a couple of minutes, just come back to your body. One of the most powerful ways to come back to your body that most people don't realize is laughter. So if you can find a friend or find someone who really, really makes you laugh, call them up. Because as soon as you burst into laughter, your whole system starts regulating. So number one is to come back to your body. Number two is at that moment creating the relationship between the overwhelm and the signal. And this takes time and practice. This is not going to happen overnight. So you just got to stick with it, okay? But it's remembering, I'm overwhelmed, therefore I have bypassed all my feelings. I've already hit the end of this road. Okay? I'm at the end of the road. It's almost like saying, I was driving, I've already parked the car. You've already parked the car and switched off the engine. You're in overwhelm. So what do we need to do is we need to start the car and go in reverse. You need to reverse. Back out. And as you go back very slowly, you will start to see some of the emotions that you suppress. My suggestion, number three, is start with the most immediate one. Forget about the one that was 6 hours ago. Forget about the one that was 10 hours ago. Forget about the one that was 10 days ago. It doesn't matter. Start with the one that's right there. Whatever you felt before you got to the point of overwhelm. If you have finished step 2, which was just simply identifying the signal, and you're still not ready to feel, then don't do it. Stay in your body. Only you can decide how long that's going to take. That can take a couple of minutes. It can take a couple of days. It can take a couple of hours. It doesn't matter. When you're ready to get to step 3, and you will, when you're ready, then reverse and just go and see the most recent emotions that caused the overwhelm. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. I would love to hear how it went for you. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If this episode resonated for you, then share it with someone who you think can benefit from it too. And remember, 3 minutes can change everything. For the pause, show notes, and more, please visit www.vanizakimji.com.